Senate Coast 3.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Hope everybody's had a great day. Man, hey Guido. Sorry, I was on a phone call. Appreciate you coming in on the in the chat. Anyway, I'm here now. That's all that matters. I was enjoying the phone call and I was talking to a very good friend of mine. So it was actually worth being late. So, because anytime I get to talk to that friend, I talk to that friend. Just the way it goes. Anyway, hope everybody had a good evening last night. Hope everybody got a good rest and slept well. I slept like a rock, kind of. I kept waking up, but I kept going back to sleep, so everything was fine. Snowball's laying in there, sleeping in the bed. It's hotter than hell outside again. She's not spending any time outside, let me tell you. The only time I'm going out is when I'm going to smoke, because I don't smoke in my house. It is 109 degrees, guys. 109 degrees. Was a whole lot hotter earlier, but, it was almost 110. But now that it's 5, it's starting to cool down a little bit. I've got the roller shades down. I've seen my buddy out there, that nasty lizard. When he gets upset, he starts turning vivid colors, let me tell you. And when there's another lizard up there, and it doesn't matter if it's a bigger lizard or a baby lizard, he starts doing them push-ups, and he starts turning really vivid colors. So that's kind of funny. I mean, he gets pissed off. He starts turning different colors. I thought, boy, you got a problem. That's funny. Any way you look at it, that's hilarious. I didn't charge my computer right last night. I didn't have it plugged in all the way. So when I went to start that up this morning, I had to wait for it to charge. So it didn't take long. It only took about an hour or so. It was all charged up, 100%. So I know Karen Crude hates my my wind chimes. So I'm going to sit over here by him. In the shade, but I'm going to sit by him. Just so Karen Crude can hear him. Hey, Wendy O. Howdy, howdy. Welcome. Went and got some smokes. Drove out to the Wallapai and had a nice conversation with that lady out there. I wanted to get I was gonna get 4 cartons, and I thought, nah, hell with it, I'm gonna get 6. And she only had 3. These things, they sell these things out all the time, these signals. They're good cigarettes. They're not strong. And they're only tobacco and water. That's all that's in these. So, and they don't go out. When you light them, and if you light one and lay it down, it'll burn all the way up to the filter. So that's good. You're grilling. Oh, good deal. I've already had supper. I had a hamburger. I wasn't really that hungry. I was a little bit hungry, but not. I didn't even want a whole hamburger, but I went ahead and ate it anyway. Forced that thing down. I don't eat much when it's hot. Just kind of, it just kind of takes the appetite away. I'm waiting for a call from this guy that does prosthetic devices and braces, and I'm being forced to get this brace. I ain't gonna wear it, guys. I'm not gonna wear it. The hell with it. I'm not gonna wear it. Uh, when he decides that it's done and I have to go get it, I'll go get it. I'll go in and pick it up, and it's going to be the big, here you go. Let's slip it on you. Let's do it for size. And I'm going to tell him, nope. Well, you got to come over here and you got to walk in between the things and hang out. I got to make sure you can walk all right. I'm going to say, nope. I was forced to get this, and I got it. You financially raped my insurance company, and they paid for it. And I'm not playing. And that's just the way it's going to be. So, I'm no different than anybody else. If somebody tells you, I'm going to force you into doing this, and they wind up forcing you into doing it, you're not going to cooperate. Hey, Karen, can you hear that? Isn't that pretty? You need to go back in. Come on, go on. Good girl, get in there. Hurry up. Go. And the wind's blowing sand, and I'm coughing. And I wish I could get rid of this damn cold. It's a tickle in my bronchial tubes is where it's at. So, yeah, when I come out, she comes out. She doesn't want to leave my side for some reason. She's always been that way. It's really crazy. But anyhow, I want to talk about volunteer firefighter stuff. That's what I want to talk about. Where the Wallapai tribe, where I go to get my smokes. The last time I was there, she only had a carton, so that's all I bought was a carton, and I wanted to try them anyway. I didn't want to buy a bunch of them and then not care for them at all. And I was telling her about Chico's Smoke Shop, the Tohono O'odham tribe. And I told her what happened over there. And, if you think about this, who has a right? Who do you have to hand your driver's license to? Is it some asshole in a smoke shop? Or is it law enforcement? And I had told her about this before when I bought that one carton. And I told her, I said, I'm not going back there. I will never go back there. I said, I've bought cigarettes and my daughter's cigarettes and stuff like that when I went over there since 2017. And I said, I will not go back there. The guy was an asshole. Hey, it's same old, same old. he said he wanted to see my driver's license so that he could make sure that the debit card that I gave him to pay for the cigarettes was mine. So I held it out. He took it out of my hand. He took it out of my hand. And I told him, give it back. All I did was hold it up so he could see it. He doesn't have any right to touch my driver's license. Only law enforcement has that right. It's issued by the state. It belongs to the state. It's in your name. But it's still state property. And the only one that can touch that is law enforcement. And he said, well, I needed to make sure it was right. Well, he already had my credit card, or not debit card, not credit card. He held it out and I took a hold of it and I jerked it out of his hand. And I told him, I said, you're not law enforcement. You have no right to touch that. And he said to me, well, if you don't like that, that's just too bad. I'm not going to sell you any cigarettes today. You can come back tomorrow. I said, think so, do you? You think I'm going to come back here? I said, I will never come back here. And then there was a Native American guard in there with his fake badge on. I asked him, I said, you law enforcement? No, he says, I'm just, and when I pulled away from the window, I said, what an asshole. That's what I said. Didn't say it to his face. I pulled away from the window and then said, what an asshole. Because I jerked my driver's license out of his hand. He told me he wasn't going to sell me cigarettes, and I was going to go in and argue with him. So I went around front. I parked and I went in. And this fake cop, and that's what he is, a fake cop. Native American Indian, but he's a fake cop. Got the police uniform on, and a fake badge, a fake star. Had no markings, no number, no nothing on it. He had no bicep patches. He had no shoulder patches. He was nothing but a damn guard, security guard. That's all he was. He said, you called him an asshole. I said, I sure did. I said, I could have called him a whole lot worse than that. And he said, well, he's not going to sell you anything. You're going to have to come back tomorrow and buy stuff. I said, you think I'm going to come back here? Are you out of your goddamn mind? You're nuts. I says, you're as much as an asshole as he is. And I left, and I won't go back there. I will not go back there. So I went over to the Wallapies, and I bought a carton of these natives. And they're native made. They're from the Wallapai tribe. They're called Signals, native made, as I said. All natural. The only thing that's in them is pure tobacco and water. That's it. And I'm telling you, they're 100 times better cigarette. And so I went over and I had my badges in the car. So I went over to the Wallapai tribe. And that's right next to the casino. And I had my badges in the car. Now I've had somebody that I know and I'm very close to made a comment to someone else, and it got back to me that I'm stolen valor because I was never paid as a volunteer firefighter. Now think about that. Think about that. Is a volunteer firefighter paid? Are they ever paid? Hence the words VFF, volunteer firefighter. So I got a hold of that person, and we kind of went round and round. And that person admitted saying that. That was a mistake. Anyway, I want to talk about being a volunteer firefighter. I want to talk about the training that you go through. And I've talked about this before on my stream. Uh-oh, my buddy's, my live-in's battery is at 9%. Oh, well. Anyhow, the volunteer firefighter, I was in Winnebago County in Rockford, Illinois. That's where I was a sheriff's deputy. Winnebago County in Illinois. And by the way, I reached down into the car and I grabbed three of my badges. Volunteer firefighter badge. And I have even my years of service on that badge, 1990 to 1996. And my two other badges I had in there, and I showed this Native American lady this, and she knows the person that owns Chico's, and she wanted to know what the hell happened, and I flat told her, and I said, I ain't going back there. I will never go back there. And I said, the only way that the guy that owns Chico's will ever make peace with me is he's going to fire that asshole, and he's going to fire the Native American other asshole security guard. I said, then I'll consider it. But I said, as it is right now, there's no way. There's no freaking way. Anyway, get back to the training. He had Rockford, Illinois, and Rockford was right at the Wisconsin border. It was Winnebago County. Then you had two other counties. Well, that's incorrect. They were still all Winnebago County, but they were two other little fire districts. One was Loves Park, and I used to refer to that as Loves Parkinsaw because a lot of hillbillies lived in there, and they acted like hillbillies, idiots. No offense there, Wendy, but they acted like moronic hillbillies. And you had a different hydrant wrench for that one, for Loves Park, than you did for Winnebago County, the straight Winnebago County for Rockford. And then you had, God, what was the other one? Oh, it's been so damn many years, and I didn't go to those. I didn't go to those places unless there was something there in those little villages that I needed to go get to purchase, and then I would. But other than that, I didn't hang out there. So you have to learn all the basic tools, plus which hydrant wrench which fits which hydrants. Even though it's the same county, you have different hydrant wrenches for Rockford than you did for Loves Park. You have a sealing tool, what they call a sealing tool, which is it's on a long handle, and what you do is you poke that in. It's got sharp point on, and then look, if you need to pull a drywall down, or you need to pull paneling down, you need something that will stick into drywall, push through it, and then as you turn it, it's gonna on the back side, it's gonna be bigger as you turn it. So you pull it and jerk it back, and it rips down the drywall. And that was called a sealing tool. You could use that on the ceiling, or you could use it on a wall if it was drywall, or if it was thin paneling. You had to learn how to use a quick disconnect for the hydrant. And of course, you had to knowing which hydrant wrench you used. You had to take the little knob off the side, and then you put the quick disconnect up there and hook the hose to it, and then you turn the hydrant on, and now you fired the hydrant, and that loads the line. So we learned all that. We learned how to knock a fire down. We learned that the first thing you do is somebody gets up on the roof and you chop a big hole in the roof. And I said to the chief, I said, what the hell? What do you want to do that for? And we actually had houses that were going to be demolished that we could practice on, because they go in and set them on fire. And then we got to try different techniques of how to put that fire out. If you want to there's a way of, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. You knock a hole in the roof so you can ventilate to get that smoke out. And that way you don't get a flashback when you go to open the door or enter. You never turn the knob. You use an axe. You open the door with an axe. You open the roof with an axe. You have ladders laying on the top of the roof so that you don't fall through. Hey, ERR, welcome. You learn how to heel a ladder. Everyone who's different height, you're different heights, you have different leg length, you have different overall height. And you have to be able to put that ladder up on that house so that you can get up on the top of that roof without hanging on to that ladder, because you're holding a hose, or you're holding one fireman's holding a hose, and it's a charged line, and it's got a bail on the end of it. You've got to be able to go up that ladder and not touch the sides. So you're going to walk up the ladder just like you're walking on a sidewalk, and not touch the sides of that ladder. So we learned how to do that. But it's a different adjustment on the lean for everybody, because everybody is different height and different leg length. So you learn how to do that. So once you get the hole chopped up in the top and you ventilate, and you open the door with an axe, you knock the windows out with an axe. Now you're ready to, there's different ways of putting that fire out. So they teach you different ways of putting that fire out. You can stand back. I mean, I can look at a fire scene where there's a house on fire, and I can tell you if they're trying to just let it burn and burn to the ground, or if it's in a subdivision. Same thing with the subdivision. They're letting it burn and burn to the ground. They just don't want houses on either side to catch on fire, or you're actually trying to put that damn fire out. There's different ways of attacking that. So they teach you how to do that. Yeah, same old, same old. You bet. It's scary if you fall off of a ladder. when my husband and I, we re-roofed our house, and you can have 2 layers in the county, Winnebago County where I was. You could have 2 layers. If you go to put on the third, you got to tear off the first 2. Each layer, you have to have the black paper. Yeah, there you go, Wendy. Yep, your grandson did the fire thing with old houses. Absolutely. They're going to demolish them, and it's best to set them on fire and teach the firefighters how to do this. If you don't have the experience, you're not going to learn. You can't learn this shit out of a book. I mean, you can get the basics. You know, like first you put the ladders on the roof, lay them on the roof. Then you got one up on the side, and you walk up the ladder, and then you go up there. You got an axe, and you chop a hole in the top, and this is why you do it. Yeah, you learn that. But it's different than if you experience it. I don't know how else to put it to you. So we learned all that. Then we went into part of the other training was you had to hang by one leg. You could pick either leg, and you had to hang by your knee. You had to be physically fit to do this. You had to hang by one knee. You could pick whichever leg you wanted to pick, but you couldn't change legs once you started, and you couldn't touch the leg, and you had to hang upside down, by the way, people, upside down. You had to hang there for 30 minutes, and you couldn't touch the ladder with your hands or your other feet. Your feet, you know, the one that you were hanging by or the other one. You couldn't use that for support. We learned how to go in and find a body with Nomex, full turnout gear, Nomex, fire boots. You got the Nomex hood. You got a hard hat. You got to have a hard hat on. OSHA bullcrap. You got to have a hard hat on. And then you have SCBA on. And you've got a full face mask on. It's got octopus straps on the top so that there's no way that can come loose or fall off. So these Nomex gloves, it's like putting on an oven mitt with fingers. I can show you. I've got Nomex gloves here. And I use them for baking. And I got them from back then, and I've never got rid of them. I can show you what they look like. There's what it looks like. That's a Nomex glove. It keeps the heat in the glove and doesn't pass it on to your hand. So we did that, and then we had training. Then we had training as far as arson went. This is what to look for arson. This is what to look for electrical fire. If you've got electrical fire, you go to the walls, and you look at the walls, and you look for the plug-ins. And if you got fire going up the drywall or the painted wall where that plug-in is, you've got electrical fire. Arson, easy to tell arson. Not difficult at all. You can take an incandescent light bulb. You can take a small hypodermic syringe. You can take a small drill, very, very small drill. I'm going to show you something. You can do this in a lamp, or you can do it in a ceiling light. This is a 3-way bulb. 3-way bulb. This is your ground. This is your hot. If you want to turn this into an arson device, you take over here on the side, drill a really small hole. take a small hypodermic syringe, fill it with a flammable, and that's all I'm going to say, flammable. Insert it in there. Then you take a candle, a piece of bubble gum, anything. You take a hunk of lard, Crisco lard, and you seal that hole in the glass. Put that in the lamp, screw it up, turn the lamp on. How does this light? How does this light? You got a filament that goes up this way, you got a filament that goes that way, and then you've got another one that goes in between. Where do you get the light from? You get the one that goes from in between. It glows. It's hot. It's hot. Put a flammable in here, put that into a lamp that way, or a ceiling light this way if it's a regular bulb, and turn the light on. What happens? You're not stupid. You're not stupid. There's a difference of between, there's another tool. There's another tool. It's called a engine tool. It looks like a great big huge toothpick. Looks like a great big huge toothpick. And at the end where it hooks onto the hose is a larger diameter than the opposite end. The opposite end comes to basically a round point. It's got holes drilled in it at an angle that goes to a center area in that. It's like a tube or a pipe in the center, if you want to, you know, describe it that way. Then you've got holes that are drilled at about, I don't know, I'd say 30 degree angles that go to the center. When you fire that hose, the water squirts out of that throughout of all those holes, the whole length of that. That's for an engine fire for a car. You don't get in the car if you got an engine fire and pop the hood and then stand in front of the damn thing and play with the hood release in the front and open the hood. And, you know, you don't do that. You don't do that. If you've got an engine fire, you're talking about gasoline or oil, petroleum, that's on fire. So you take this engine tool and you shove it right through the fender into the engine area and then fire the hose. And when I say fire the hose, that means turn the water on to the hose. You have to learn how to use a bale. A bale is totally different than what you use on a garden hose. It's got it's a big round end. It's kind of long. It hooks on the end of the hose. And usually, if you're going to use a bale for normal use, not a house fire, but normal use, a field fire, a fence line fire, you can use 2-inch line. If you're going to use it for a house fire, you're going to want to use minimum of 2-inch and probably 4-inch line. So you've got a bale that hooks to the end of that hose. It's got a handle on it that you hold on the bottom with your fist. And it's got, now this is the way it was when I was in it, which was many years ago. And I doubt that they've changed. Google a fire bale. A fire hose bale, and you'll pull that back. And when you pull that back, that opens that hose up, that bale up on that hose, and the water just comes out. It just shoots the hell out of there. And you can adjust that from a solid stream to, like, I don't know what the hell you call it. Like if you were going to water your grass and you were going to do it with a hose, and you know, you're gonna have it come out with a spray. So you can adjust it from a spray to a full stream, depending upon how you're going to use that bale. You can take the bark right off a tree with it. You can shoot it through a window. You can, one thing you don't do is go into a house and you don't use the spray. You don't use the spray. Because what's going to happen, think about this, a lot of this stuff is just common sense. You got a pallet full of a bunch of pallets that are on fire, or you got a couch that's on fire, and now the whole living room is engulfed. Your carpeting's going to go, your furniture's going to go, your padded furniture, your chairs, your couch, pillows, throw pillows, all that's engulfed. Now you've got flames that are going up and they're licking the ceiling and they're licking the sidewalls in that room. You don't go in there and open that up to a spray, because if you do, what you're going to do is the water droplets are going to heat to boiling, and then they're going to come right back in your face and you're going to get burnt. You have to attack that with a full stream on the bale. They teach you this is regular firefighter training. Volunteer or not, it doesn't goddamn matter, because you're a volunteer doesn't mean you get different training than if you're a full-fledged, full-time paid firefighter. It's the same training. It makes common frickin' sense. If you spray that, it'd be like standing there it'd be like standing there and you got a pan on the stove and you've got oil on the pan and the goddamn thing caught on fire. You don't throw flour on it to put it out. Because if you do, the particles of flour that are in the air are going to go boom, poof. And you're going to have a fire all over everything. It's the same with water, only you got boiling water coming back at you. You just had to break up a cat fight? Wow, that doesn't sound like no fun. Anyway, we learned all this stuff. So when Knuckenfutz come around, and she had a friend, Jessica Yoder. And Jessica Yoder claimed she was a firefighter. Well, you have bunker pants. You know what bunker pants are? You know what bunker pants? Everybody knows what bunker pants are for a firefighter. It's part of your turnout gear, but it's what you wear under your turnout gear, your full turnout gear. And your full turnout gear is not fireproof, it's flame resistant. Big difference between fireproof and flame resistant or flame retardant. The flame retardant part of the full turnout gear is there's a chemical that's in that material in that full turnout gear, the jacket and the pants, that isn't supposed to allow it to catch on fire. And I mean that full turnout gear is heavy and it's hot. It's very hot. Part of my training I took in the wintertime just prior to snowing. And the sweat runs down your face just in full turnout gear. So imagine what a firefighter feels like when it's 100 degrees outside and you're trying to work and put out a fire. And then you've got you got lieutenants, you got captains, you got the fire chief. Same as, it's the same as police force. You got different ranks. And the fire chief is the guy that runs the whole shebang. And everybody is transmitting back and forth on radios if you're an officer, they don't give just the firefighters a handheld radio to play with. Just the officers, the captains, lieutenants, sergeants, they get the handheld. And of course the chief. And the chief runs the show. You have God, I remembered it the other day. It's a pass something that sits on your shoulder, and they had these when I was in it. And as long as you're moving, you can hear these bells. You can hear these bells. And if I've got one of those on and something falls and hits me in the head and knocks me out and I'm unconscious and I'm laying on the floor and I don't know I'm unconscious and nobody else knows I'm unconscious and I can burn to death or die from smoke inhalation, which about 99% of the time, that's what people die from, is smoke inhalation, because of all the chemicals that are in the house that are released when you set it on fire, when it catches on fire. If that stops, if I stop moving, that starts squawking. You hear all kinds of loud noise and crap coming from that. And that's how you can locate a firefighter in a fire if they're inside the building, in the basement. If you're in a warehouse and a fireman is in trouble and they're down, that thing's going to be going off. You learn that. There's so much that you learn. Anybody, and I've said it before, hey, TOS, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Anybody that is physically fit and is young and they have the time to put into this training, you owe it to your family. You owe it to your community to get this training. It doesn't cost you. It costs the county that you are volunteering with for the classes, because somebody's got to teach you guys this. You'll watch a lot of videos, and I'm not talking about YouTube videos. I'm talking about videos up with a projector, training. It's well worth the time. You owe your family. You owe your community to do this. You will never forget the training. It'll always be with you. It's impossible to forget. You can go in the training as far as you want to go, all the way up to arson inspector. Do it. Just frickin' do it. Go down to your local fire department. See if you can talk with the fire chief. Nothing else, get an appointment so you can speak with the fire chief and tell him, I'm interested in becoming a volunteer firefighter. Do you have volunteers, or are you just fully time paid firefighters? And if he is fully paid firefighters and not volunteers, he can sure as hell tell you who the next fire chief is that you need to speak with. And you need to do this. You'll never forget the training. I'm telling you, you'll never forget the training. But to be blacked out with duct tape, to be on full SCBA, have Nomex hood, Nomex gloves, full turnout gear, boots on, now you're going to have to go in and your face mask is blacked out. Now you get to go in and look for bodies. And you've only got about 2 inches from the floor and 2 inches above the floor that isn't full smoke. because you can't see through that either. In an actual fire, you can't see anything. You only got about 2 inches of air on the floor. That's it. So you don't walk upright in there. You go in on your belly, and you look for feet. You look for shoes. You look for a couch. You crawl up to the couch. You can't take off your Nomex gear. You can't remove your gloves. You can't do any of that stuff. You have to be able to find a body through gloves. Put some damn oven mitts on and feel somebody else's arm. And close your eyes. It's not easy. It takes experience. And it takes training. You're also taught, if you're in a forest fire, what do you do? What do you do? What if you're in a wooded area or a forest and there's a fire? What do you do? And you can't get out. You're surrounded and it's coming in towards you. What do? You look for a stream. That's what the hell you do. You look for a stream or a river, or anything that's got water. It doesn't matter if it's moving or not moving, and you get the hell in it. That's what you do. That's what you get in the water, and you stay in the water, and you keep your eye on everything around you. And I mean, that fire's going to catch on those trees, and it's going to come right up to you. So unless you want to burn up, you get in the water. You get wet and stay wet. You don't get out until you can see an opening and you can get up and run. Because you're not going to be lucky enough to have a car with you. And if you do have a car with you, it's going to be on fire. And it's got gasoline in it, and it's got motor oil in it. So what do you think it's going to do in a fire? It's going to catch on fire. You're not going to drive out of there. Your car's going to be on fire. Yep, absolutely. That's why you don't do that. That's why you don't do that. Same old, same old. I mean, pets are pets, but you don't do that. You let the firefighters do that. You tell the firefighters what's in there, what pets you have, and they go in because they've got the gear and they've got the training. You don't. And you're not gonna burn to death. You're gonna die from smoke inhalation. The chemicals that are in carpeting, the chemicals that are in lounge chairs, couches, designer pillows, wood furniture. Do you know how something catches on fire? Do you know how a wooden, say this right here, or a log in a campfire or in a fireplace, do you know how that catches on fire? You have to heat it. It has to be heated until it starts to release gas. And then the gas catches on fire. That's how a log in a fireplace catches on fire. Furniture's no different. Carpeting's no different. Couch is no different. You've got heat in there in the house from a fire. The room starts to heat up. The paint starts to burn. Do you know concrete will burn? Concrete will burn. It'll burn into powder if you have hot enough fire. See, they teach you all this. They teach you all this. And then you get to go out on actual fires. And you're not going to be one of the officers. You're going to be one of the grunts. That's why you never park in the area of a fire hydrant. Want your car windows busted out? Park 1 or 2 car lengths away from it and see what happens. Because if there's a fire in a house or building that's towards your car, that in that direction, and say next to it, but across the street, and you charge that line doesn't come off the front of the hydrant, it comes off the side. And when that line charges, it gets stiff as hell. And they'll bust your damn car windows out. Oh, tough shit. Don't park in the vicinity of a fire hydrant. Hey, broker of peace. Yeah, the flashpoint is when everything just goes woof. That's when everything is on fire. That's when you got a fully engulfed fire. That's the flashpoint. And I doubt very much. I mean, 90 to 96, I was a firefighter. And I doubt that what they teach you now and what I was taught then is different at all. There's a good movie out there. And I'm trying to remember the name of it. And it's about, you got this firefighter's got a passport on his shoulder. That's what they call that thing that makes noise. It's passport. He's down in a basement and he actually dies. And I can't remember the name of the damn movie. See if I can Google it. Flashback is coming to my mind. I haven't even got it typed in yet. Oh, let me see. Ladder 49 was pretty good. I saw that. And there's a difference between fighting wild fires and housing fires. There's a difference between housing fires and warehouse fires, like Walmart. Can you imagine how much backdraft? That's it. Thank you, backdraft. But you know, to get to stay away from that when you go in the door, that's why you don't grab a hold of the doorknob and try to open the door. You open the goddamn door with an axe. You open the door with an axe. But flashpoint is the temperature when everything just goes. It just goes. And then you've got it, everything's fully engulfed. Hey, Sugar Crits. So I've had that training. I've had training for hazmat. I am actually certified hazmat today. And I can take over IC command. It is illegal for me to drive down the road and have a hazmat scene and ignore it and keep driving. It's illegal. Hey, Darlene McGee. Because I've had the training. I have the badge. I've got 2 of them. I got 3 of them. I've got one for I've got my original badge for hazmat, and I've got one for Arizona, and I've got one for Illinois. And I got my training at the IFSI. And you don't just go to the IFSI in Chicago and get the training, your county has to pay for that. So, oh, a grain silo. Oh, that's so much fun. Oh, that's so much, especially if it's corn or oats. Corn has got so much chaff with it. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. Silos, silo fires, farm fires. You got all kinds of equipment on a farm. You've got chemicals galore on a farm. You can get a phone app on your phone. You can, and you don't have to be licensed to do this. It's called Hazmat 2024. I'm going to show you. This is a phone app. Second row down, the two center ones. See that? The ERG 2020 book and Hazmat 2024. Okay? It's the second and third one in. Download them. You can download those. You can download those. That's the same thing as the book, only it's electronic form, and it's faster to use. I have to have binoculars, paper, and pencils, and I use the mechanical pencils in my vehicle. I can't go past I can't drive past it and ignore it and figure, what the hell, somebody will, fire department get here soon. Anymore, from what I understand, anymore, and I want to get an appointment with the Northwest Fire Chief, and I want to talk to their hazmat specialist, and I want to talk to the fire chief. Well, you've got the heat. Sugar Crits, you got the heat. You got to have the heat. And when you get the heat, they spontaneously ignite, and then it goes woof. Yeah, and there's going to be some people saying, yeah, like a dog. Yeah, it'll go woof. That's what you'll hear with the fire. You've got to take a test every year. And you have to keep up with the training. You have to learn with hazmat, you have to learn what chemicals affect what parts of the body, what organs. You have to learn how to change a neutral, which is a 7, into a caustic. All you have to do is play with that. All you have to do is play with that number. And you can change something that's neutral, which is a 7, into a caustic, will eat your fingers off. Hay will heat. The big round barrels, there's up way the hell up where my daughter used to live, way the hell up by the Canadian border. And this guy was baling hay, and he was putting it in the big round bales, and he was putting it in the schoolyard. He was putting it in the schoolyard where they were playing baseball. That's where they play baseball, where the bases were. And I told my daughter, I said, that's going to be on fire tonight. She looked at me. She says, it ain't going to catch on fire. I said, yeah, it is. Nah. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll bet you a steak dinner that before the night is over, before it gets daylight, the fire department is out there putting those bales out. She says, okay, you're on. It got just dusk. This is like from 4 in the afternoon to dusk, because those round bales were green. Yes, grain will ferment, so will corn. That's why you got to put, you have to dry corn, or it'll ferment. That's how they make booze, my dear. That's how you make good old moonshine with corn and sugar. Yep. Green hay heats. If you look at a cornfield, and I don't care if it's sweet corn or field corn, I don't give a damn. And I came from Illinois, so I'm telling you, if you have fields of corn, the corn will fire at a specific point. And when I say the corn fires, as soon as the cob, the silk on the cob turns brown, start looking at the ground on those, and you're going to see that whole stalk start to fire, and it's going to dry out that quick, and it will catch on fire. It can. It has the ability to do that. Sure, use straw. Straw is a good insulator, but it's a good heater too. How do you get straw? How do you get straw, Toss? How do you get straw? You can use bales of straw around a house, around the foundation, to insulate in the winter. But how do you get straw? Yellow straw. Do you remember? You worked on a farm. I worked on a farm. Wheat, oats. If you grow wheat, oats, right? Put it through a combine. Yep. Manure from a farm. Not only does it stink, but it creates heat. When a body dies, I mean, other than all of the worms and all of the stuff in the gut and in the digestional tract, creates heat. You can take a doghouse, buy a small bale of straw, put straw inside that doghouse. It's got to have a roof on it of some sort. Put a flap on the door. And them dogs at 20 below zero will be toasty on the inside because of the straw. Well, that's how you get it, is wheat, oats, and wheat. Yeah, hay is green. Sure, same old, come on. Cow manure is the best fertilizer you can get. You can use that to grow anything, and it's natural. But that manure will heat. How does it dry out? A cow pie is a liquid, basically. I mean, it's a thick liquid, but it's a liquid. How does it dry out? It's the heat in the manure. Oh yeah, that's fun, Sugar Crets. Absolutely. To play with baled hay, uh, man, the hay chaff. The chaff you get off of corn plants. Um, oh, sure, you feed goats, sheep, horses, all that. Sure, absolutely. But you don't want to give them just hay. You want to give them alfalfa with it too. You know what sweet feed is? I used to own horses. You know what sweet feed is? You give horses sweet feed. You don't give them a lot of it, but you give them sweet feed. And they love that stuff. Absolutely. You're out there in a cornfield and you're detasseling corn. You better have long sleeve shirts, long pants, and keep the shirt buttoned all the way up to underneath your chin, and your gloves underneath, and your cuffs buttoned over it because of the chaff off of corn for just detasseling. That's before, I mean, you're getting ears, but it's starting to grow ears, but then they take the top off because they don't want corn. They want seed corn. They don't want field corn, or they don't want sweet corn. They want seed corn. Well, thank you. Same old, same old. That's why when Swammy was around and he tried to trick me on some farming facts, and he told me that he says, well, you never feed or cut stuff that's flowering. You always wait for it to dry. That's what he said. I said, really? What the hell are you going to feed them? Sticks? You wait until it's in the flower stage, then you cut it, bale it, and then you feed it. Or else all you've got are stems. That's where they get the nutrients out of what they eat, are the flowers. Oh yeah, sure, Sugar Crets, absolutely. I used to I used to take turns with Jessica's brother, my granddaughter, driving the tractor with an old kick baler. I never could time one though. If it ever came out of time, if you ever plugged it up, you threw it out of time, and then you could just park it somewhere because I didn't know how to fix the timing on it. There's an art to that, because you're going over, God, how do I describe a kick baler? You're going over a row of dried. You don't want to bale shit green. You don't want to bale stuff green because then it's going to fire and you're going to catch it on. It's going to catch on fire. And we would do 90-pound bales. And we would use the string to tie those. Cats are fighting once again. Jesus. Got to teach them how to play nice or separate them. I mean, I don't know anything about cats. I don't profess to, but anyway. You don't have alfalfa in Australia? Completo, which is a plantable style feed for horses. Okay. Well, we have alfalfa, and I love the smell of fresh cut alfalfa. There's nothing like, you'll never forget the smell of alfalfa. You don't smell the hay, you smell the alfalfa. And when you sow that stuff, you mix it. And when you sow that stuff, I can't even remember what the hell the piece of equipment's called. I just know what it does. It's similar to a spreader for your yard, so that as you're walking along, you can adjust the opening in the bottom. And some of them have a little twirly thing that throws it. And in the States, we mix alfalfa with hay as a general rule. The kick baler, when you run a kick baler, you pull that behind a tractor, you run that over the rows, and you have like fingers that come out and grab it and pull it in, and then it opens, and then the other fingers come in and grab it and pull it in, and it pushes it backwards into a bale, and then it automatically ties it, and then it just drops. So what I would do is I would walk behind that, or if I wasn't doing the driving the tractor, I would walk behind the kick baler and pick up the bale by the strings and throw them up on a flatbed trailer, and it had a wall at the back of it. And then somebody else is up there picking those up, and they're stacking them. And there's a way to stack them so that they don't fall over. You stack bales of hay like you build a concrete wall, a concrete brick wall. You do it the same exact way. But it's got to be dried. It's got to be dried. So when you mow hay, you mow it, you leave it set. This is with no rain. You leave it set for a few days, then you go out and you start to make rows. And you'll make single rows, and you'll go around the whole field in a big square, and you'll make rows. You know how to turn a tractor on a square turn? Pulling a baler. There's an art to that too. I've done that too. Then you start combining the rows. And you have to flip the rows every so many days and let it dry. Then you start to combine the rows, and then after you combine 2 rows, then you got to wait, and then you got to the next day or two. And this is all with no rain. Then you got to go out and turn that and let that dry. You've got to get rid of that green. If you don't get rid of the green, it will catch on fire. Then you can bale it with a kick baler, or you can use the big round baler. My husband's uncle even had the big round baler, but he had the kick balers too. So, but you don't go back there on that flatbed trailer with the back. There's a big board on the back wall for your height. You don't just stack one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other. No, you got to do that the way you can look at a brick wall and see how the seams or the ends of the brick never come together. Because if they come together, it's not going to hold. The wall's not going to hold, and baled hay isn't going to hold either. We used to do that. I've done so much of that, it's not even funny. Pick cotton. I've picked cotton. You ever pick cotton? There's a godless job picking cotton. Oh. When it's so dark in the morning, you can't see the whites on the bolls till it's so dark at night that you can't see the whites on the bolls. And that boll where the cotton comes out of are like razor blades. When that opens up, that bowl will open up and bloom. And when it does, then the cotton like pops out the top. You have to put your fingers down on the inside of that without touching the sides of those bowls, or it will shred your fingers. Absolutely shred your fingers. Yeah, we didn't do it that way, Sugar Crits. We did it all at one time. When we kick baled that stuff, or we used a round baler, you put it on you put it on the truck, you put it on the hay rack is what it is. Put it on the hay rack, then you take it back to the barn, and then you got an elevator, and then you pick up those 90-pound bales, and the elevator goes on I don't know what the hell. I can't tell you the degree slant. It's got to go from the top to the ground, and it can't be standing up and down. It's got to be able to where you can, and the elevator is about, I don't know, 1.5 feet wide, and you're putting a 90-pound bale on that, and up it goes. And then you got somebody at the top, and they're grabbing them, and then they're stacking them in the hayloft. Yeah, PTO, absolutely. A PTO shaft drives the elevator. Yep. It's like a conveyor belt. It absolutely is. But you can put a hell of a lot of weight on that, because you don't just put one on there and wait for it to get to the top. You put one on and you leave about 4 foot, 5 foot, and then you put another one on. So that whole conveyor belt is full of 90-pound bales. And usually the guy at the top has got a hook. It's got a handle, and then it comes out straight, and then it's got a hook. And then he grabs that bale with that hook, pulls it off, and throws it. You got to be in pretty damn good shape to do that. I've done that. But Swammy tried to screw me up. He, tried to trip me up, and admitting I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And he was wrong. You do not wait until something is beyond the flowering stage and then feed it to animals, because they're not getting anything out of it other than dried stems. They get nothing out of that. You ever pulled a calf? I have never pulled a calf, but I've seen my brothers pull calves. And they didn't have a glove on either. If you're gonna pull a calf, usually they'll stick this big plastic clear see-through glove on that goes from their armpit all the way down to their ends of their fingers. No, they didn't have those on. All they had was a can of black grease, axle grease. And they greased their arms, took their shirts off, greased their arms to pull a calf. Now, I'm talking about when they're being born, they're pulling calves. You got a cow down and it's trying to give birth and it can't. I remember coming by a dairy farm one time, headed to my sister-in-law's. She's passed. She's been passed for so many years. They had 2 kids, a little boy and a little girl. My husband's sister and my husband's brother-in-law. And on the way there, you go by you'd have to turn at the dairy farm. And this guy went on vacation. I can't believe this goddamn farmer went on vacation. He got a whole herd of heifers, and they're all pregnant and giving birth at the same time. He didn't space squat out. And part of these heifers are laying on their sides with just the nose of the calf exposed, and the calf is stuck and it can't get out, can't be born. And the cows are dying. They're dying. And my husband pulled over to the side of the road and he said, look at that shit. He's up at that stupid son of a bitch went on vacation. He made a phone call because he knew the farmer. And he did. The guy went on vacation. And nobody was there. They were laying on their sides. The calves, they got to come feet first. They have to come feet first. Their feet were back. These were first time cows giving birth. They were laying on their sides. The calves, being born, their noses to up just above their where your eyebrows would be, are out of the birth canal of the cow, and no feet. So what you got to do is you got to take and push the calf in. You have to push. My husband told me, he says, I've done this. He says, you got to push the calf in, and then you have to push them all the way back in. Then you have to put your arm down in there, and you got to find both front feet, and you got to pull the feet out. And once you get the feet coming out, and you got to work with the contractions of the cow, once you get the feet out, here comes the nose. And then they can be born. But these cows are all dying. And I told my husband, how can you sit there on your ass and do nothing? He said, because I'm not going to let him sue me. He can lose his whole herd. I won't touch one of them. I said, what do you mean? Why in the hell would he sue you? He said, if one of those calves or one of those cows dies, if I go onto his property and touch either the cow or the calf, he can claim I caused the death and sue me for the cost of the calf and the cows, for each cow. And he says, I'm not going to do that. He's stupid enough to go on a goddamn vacation, has nobody there. He doesn't have a farm foreman there. He doesn't have a farmer friend there. He doesn't have nobody there. He don't give a damn about his cattle. He can lose them all. And here's the cows, all dead by the time we came back, all dead with their tongues hanging out. Every one of them. Yep. I mean, they should be standing, right? Just like a horse stands, right? I mean, a horse can lay down until the contractions get so close, and then they start to give birth and they'll stand. Cows do the same thing. They stand to give birth. Yeah, you have a good evening, TOS. Thanks for coming. Yeah, they give birth standing. They don't lay and give birth. They'll die if they lay and give birth. Because they have to use what? What do they use when they're standing up to give birth? Gravity, right? The weight of the calf coming out of either the cow or the horse, when they're standing, they're using gravity for the foal if it's a cow, or a calf, damn it, horse, or a calf if it's a cow. They absolutely stand when they have that. If they're all laying, you got a problem. You better call a vet, or you better know how to help them, or you're going to lose them. And with the horse and with the cow, there's a gland back there. And if they tear that gland, they'll die. Both the cow and the calf will die. The horse and the foal will die. It can't be born if they tear that gland, whatever that gland is. I know it's there. I just don't know what the hell they called it. I never took animal husbandry. So but I've done a lot of damn farm work. I used to go with my husband and myself and my 2 kids. Every year we'd go on vacation. We'd go over to the farm in Iowa. And that was his uncle. And he had working quarter horses too. Yep, absolutely, Darlene. I can't remember what it's called. It's been too many damn years. It's been too many years. But they're done. You tear that gland and they're done. They're all done. You don't give a cow an episiotomy and you don't give a horse an episiotomy. Doesn't work that way. It's just crazy. Crazy, 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 crazy. But we used to do that every year and we loved every minute of it. And his uncle couldn't get over how much I knew about farming. Wow, really gone fishing? I've never seen a calf born with a mother laying on her side, ever. They've all stood. I mean, the birthing process starts, but then they stand. Once the feet are exposed, they stand. Because I guess it's the gravity of the calf coming out and then falling out and coming down that helps get the calf born. I don't know. And how'd he gone fishing? I've seen horses born the same way. Sometimes they'll lay. If they're in a barn, they'll lay. And they'll work with the contractions until the feet start to come out, and their feet are covered with, it's weird. It's weird. A foal is covered with, their feet are covered with, I don't know what you'd call it, but it's like they've got little shoes on. Yeah, calves are always cute as heck. My husband's uncle had one that was blind, and he couldn't sell it for meat because it was blind. So he was going to butcher it for table. And when we'd go out into the field to check, of course, we'd either be in the back of a pickup because he had Black Angus. We'd be in the back of a pickup or we'd be on a horse. This calf would walk a big circle around him, and he's talking to this calf all the time. And the calf got big enough to butcher. And he told me, he says, I'm going to butcher him this weekend. And I said, how can you do that? How can you do that? And he looked at me, he laughed. He says, it's a calf. It's time to be butchered. I have him for table meat. He's not my pet dog. He's just a calf. Good evening, Gone Fishing. But I've seen horses give birth. I've seen calves give birth. Jesus Christ, I was like 21, 22, something like that. And the first time I saw a bull mate with a cow, I thought they were fighting. Told my husband, I said, look at their fight. He's fighting with her. What's he doing? And my husband just looked at me, raised his eyebrows and looked at me. He says, come on, Diane. I said, no, not come on, Diane. Why does he keep jumping up on her and then getting off? You know, and I mean, you're looking from a long ways away. They just do. What are you going to do with them? When they get so old, what are you going to do with them? People don't want to have to buy hay and feed an old horse that you can't ride anymore. That's what they do. I wouldn't do that. I would never have a horse slaughtered. If I had a horse, the horses that I had, if one of them got hurt or got so old that it was down, floating its teeth didn't work and it just quit eating because it was old, I wouldn't go out and shoot it. Okay? And I wouldn't have it butchered. I would call the vet and have it euthanized. I'm just saying. There are people that just do that crap. I knew one guy that had a Mustang, beautiful Arabian Mustang, total black, pure black. Tail was all the way to the ground. Mane was all the way down to the ground. And this thing had so much testosterone. And it was a stallion, had so much testosterone, and it was so hyper. He used to ride it in parades. And he started using it for stud. He would just stand there and throw his head up and down, 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 up and down. And then, you know, with his feet, you know, up and down with his feet. And he started using him just for stud. And then it got to where he couldn't control him. He'd jump up on the back of a horse with a rider in front in a parade. It just, and it's his own fault because that's the only time he'd see another horse was for stud. The only time he'd be around other horses or other people is for stud. Calves, yeah, they make for veal. Yeah, I don't like veal. I hate veal. Yep. So what did this guy do? He got totally pissed off. The marshal that was running the parade marshal, says to him, he says, you get a handle on that horse or you don't bring him next year. And he got pissed off. The guy got really pissed off because he got told that by the parade marshal. So they went from cutting pigs if you understand what I'm saying when I say cutting pigs, sterilizing pigs, male pigs. They went from cutting the bags off or splitting them open and taking out the contents of the scrotum. They came out with O-rings. Yeah, neutering them. They came out with, I can remember when they came out with O-rings, and then you had like a a pair of pliers that worked in reverse. You put this O-ring, rubber O-ring on the end of these pliers, and then when you squeeze the handles, it would open up the O-ring. So they worked in reverse. So what they started doing, the vets started doing, is they started putting these O-rings on the pigs to neuter them. And the scrotum would just die and fall off. And I think it was better on the pigs. I really do. I think it was better on the pigs. Then they started doing it with calves too. The little bulls, they do the same thing with the calves. They put an O-ring on their scrotum, and then the O-ring was so tight that it would cut off the blood supply, and it would die. The scrotum would die and fall off. So instead of having to pay a vet to come cut them, to remove the scrotum or to remove the contents of the scrotum, the farmers could do it themselves. Just put a little O-ring on them, and voila. It'd take a couple of weeks and they would fall off. And then the pigs were cut and the calves were cut or neutered, or however you want to put it. But I can't stand veal. I can't stand the smell of it. I can't stand the taste of it. If I never had to smell veal again, it would be too soon. My sister-in-law I started to say this last night. My sister-in-law used to raise capon chickens. They're absolutely huge. They're the size of a turkey. And they call them sexless chickens. Well, they got here somehow, right? I mean, it had to come from a fertilized egg, right? But they call them a sexless chicken. So I don't know if they're asexual or what the deal is, but they're called capons, and they're absolutely flipping huge, and they're white, always white. The ones that she had anyway were always white, and they were absolutely humongous. It was crazy. So if you want to know what a capon chicken is, Google it. What is a capon chicken? And do it with your voice instead of trying to type it in, because I don't know how you spell capon. If it's C-A-P-O-N or K-P-O-N or K-A-P-O-N, I don't have a clue. And I can still see in my mind's eye my two little girls at the horse trough with little chicks and little ducklings. And they were too young to realize there was a difference, and they kept drowning the chickens, little chicks, putting them because some of them were swimming around having a good time, and some of them were just bloop under the water, and they were gone. Yeah, he probably did. Same old, same old. He probably did. I mean, some things change. Other things can't change. They can't. Here's a thought. Evolution. Have you ever seen petrified snails in rocks? In the shells, just the shell thing in the rocks? They look the same today as they looked 500 years ago. My dad did that shit with me and the rabbits. I used to raise rabbits. And they always eat their very first litter. They always eat the first litter, the rabbits do. And I would have to go out. I'd have to go out every day and pull grass and put grass in there. And then a handful of pellets. And of course, they'd have to have water 2 or 3 times a day. And then all of a sudden, my rabbits are gone. And my dad says we're having squirrel tonight, but nobody went hunting. So I was sitting there eating my rabbits, and then give me holy hell for leaving the cage open, and the rabbits got out and ran away. No, my rabbits wouldn't run away. Why would they run away? They wouldn't run away. I would take them out, put them in the grass, and we'd play. Yeah, capon chickens. You need to look them up. They're the frickin' size of turkeys. And they're chickens. They're called sexless chickens, according to my sister-in-law. But they raised chickens, the capon chickens, and then they raised regular beef cattle. Yep. So I know a little bit. I know enough to get me in trouble. Put it that way. I know when you have horses, you have to float your teeth. They have to have inoculations, just like anything else has got to have inoculations. When they get sick, you got to call a vet. When they need new shoes, you call a furrier. Jessica's dad knew how to do all that. He knew how to trim the hooves. He knew how to shoe them. He knew all that. There's a rooster with them. I just looked it up. Okay. Well, there's got to be, right? How do you fertilize the egg? How do they get born? I mean, there's got to be a rooster around somewhere to make the hens happy. But she called them sexless chickens. I don't know what the hell that means. But that's how she made her living. And she died from a pulmonary embolism. Yeah, you got to have a rooster around to fertilize the egg to get the baby. But she called them sexless chickens. I don't know. They had a whole gaggle of geese instead of farm dogs on their farm. When my kids got big enough, and they were allergic to everything. When my kids got big enough to be introduced to farm animals, chickens and cows and all that good stuff, told my husband, I said, how about calling her and how about calling Linda and find out if we can bring the kids out and they can pet the calves, if she's got any calves. Yeah, you don't need rooster. You don't want a rooster around just to get eggs, or you can't sell the eggs. You got to let them hatch. You don't eat fertilized eggs. You ever crack open an egg and go to fry it and it's got blood in it? Throw it away because it's a fertilized egg. Because regular eggs, raw eggs, don't have blood in them. You feed them laying mash to get eggs. Don't know. Who the hell am I? I'm not I'm not that great on it. Yep. If you want baby chickens, you have a rooster around. Have you ever seen a chicken lay an egg? It's the weirdest thing you'll ever see in your entire life, to see a chicken lay an egg. And the egg is long and you can squish it. It's not round like you buy it in the store. You got to leave it set, and then it'll get like you buy it in the store. But when they lay it, it's really long, like a tube. You got roosters and rabbits. Okay. I don't know. It took me a year of study to get my hazmat license. And I didn't have any problem passing the test. But I studied for that for 1 year before I could get it. And you have to retest for that every year. And it's not free. You have to pay for the test. It is not a free test. And that includes everything from caustics, acids. Jesus God Almighty, what organs in the body are affected by what chemicals? You got to learn all that crap. You know what your liver takes on, what your pancreas takes on. You know, your liver will remove this, and your pancreas will remove that. But it took me a year of study to get through that. And I only took the test once, and I passed it. And I've been a licensed ham radio operator for over 50 years, and I hold the highest class license under first class commercial. And I'm working on the test for that. But I got to be in the mood, man. I got to be in the mood to read that book. And I haven't been in the mood lately. I'm going to give this cold one more week. And then I'm going to make an appointment, see the quack, I reckon. But if you've never seen a chicken actually lay an egg, you're missing out. I don't know. It's just so weird how that hard eggshell that you're looking at in the package in the store can start out long, and you can actually squish it with your fingers a little bit, and then you lay it down and it'll shrink up in length and get round like a regular chicken egg, and then get hard. It's crazy. I'll never forget the first time I saw that. It took me a long damn time to even figure out. And my husband again just looked at me. It really? Come on. Jesus, God, Diana. Really? To figure out, because he had to tell me what the tuft of hair was on a bull's belly. Because I figured they were like a horse. Right? I mean, they'd be like a dog. They'd be like a cat. They'd be like a horse. Why would a bull be any different? He just sit there and looked at me. Yeah, really, Diane, I can't believe you. You're not being for real. And I told him, I said, I've never been around damn farm animals. Couldn't tell you. And you're looking from, you're looking at a Black Angus bull from across a field. And I just said to him one day, what in the hell is with the tuft of hair on the belly of a bull? He just shook his head. Okay. Can't help it. I was a city kid, guys. I was a city kid. Lived on a farm when I was little, but, I was a city kid. Yep. Jesus, I got to wash the outside of my window. It's a good thing I can reach it. Yeah, I had lots of animals. Wow. I remember a guy in the ham radio club that I belonged. I can't remember. K9SAN was his call sign. I can't remember his name, but he was a pig farmer. And he always wore Mermy fatigues. Yep. They're not legal in the United States and they're banned in the UK. Really? Capon chickens? I wonder when they made them illegal in the United States. She raised them. I'm telling you, that's what she raised for a living. And what her husband did with them after she passed, I don't know. She had a pulmonary embolism and suffocated to death. That's crazy. This is back in this would be back in the 70s. They weren't illegal back in the 70s is all I can tell you, because she raised them. That's what she raised. That's what she did for a living. And she'd butcher them and sell them too. But she had a pulmonary embolism, and that's all she wrote. And that's not a fun way to go. Because you can't breathe. You suffocate. You can't swallow. You're scared to death. You can't swallow. And your mouth starts foaming up with sputum. And you can't take a breath of air. You suffocate. Not a fun way to go. I don't know of a fun way to go other than just go to sleep, not wake up. Well, there you go. That's why I guess she called him a sexless chicken, right? If the male chickens are surgically castrated, a capon chicken is surgically castrated, it would be a sexless chicken, right? But then how the hell, they can't do all of them that way because they still have to come from an egg because they're a chicken, right? I don't know. There you go, little Ricky. There's your bells. Little Ricky. Karen Crud. The one that claims he was on a task force, but he won't tell you what kind. Claims he was a U.S. Marshal. He was never a U.S. Marshal. Claims he was a Houston PD officer. He was never a Houston PD officer. Never was. And if you want to know if he was ever a Houston PD officer, do a FOIA. Yeah, I don't know how in the hell. Well, everything is internally. Everything on a chicken is internal, right? On a male, except for the actual breeding act. Then, you know, something comes to the outside. But yeah, I miss God, I miss working on a farm. I miss smelling freshly mown grass, the chlorophyll smell. I miss that so much. I should never have moved out here. I think it was a mistake. But my body wouldn't take the cold anymore and the snow anymore. I should have stayed in my house and told my daughter, I don't care if you buy 16 houses for me to live in. I'm not going to live out there. I think from what you're saying, a capon chicken is, to do that, I think is, I think it's inhumane. I'm just saying. Yeah, maybe that is why they grow so big. I don't know, but they grow huge. I mean, they're the size of a turkey. Hell, they're the size of a 20-pound turkey. The one she had. They were huge. But I think it's inhumane. I really do. There goes my buying. There goes my service dog into bed. And I got my package today for my scrubbing bubble stuff for my toilets. Oh, he was neutered? Wow. Well, maybe that's I'm telling you, it was the size, her capon chickens were the size of 20-pound turkeys. Oh, he wasn't neutered. Okay. He wasn't neutered. Gotcha. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And they had pure white feathers. None of them had any color on their feathers. None of them. And they didn't have the, I mean, they didn't have the thing that hangs down like a turkey. They just were the size of one. They were typical chickens. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, the gobbler. They didn't have that. They were just a typical white, pure white, all white feathered chicken. They were just flipping huge. Oh, I don't know. The guy next door was a boyfriend to the lady that lived next door to me, and her name was Arlene Workington. She's got to be dead. Jesus Christ, she's got to be dead. And he was an auctioneer. The guy was like 80 years old. And you should hear his mouth go when he wanted to be an auctioneer, when he did his auctioneer stuff. And we used to go to the sale barns and listen to him auction off stuff. And that old woman come over one day. I used to take her coffee every day. She come over and she says, I have to explain. And I said, do you want to come in, Arlene? Yeah, but I have to explain. So I invited her in, poured her some coffee. I said, what's wrong? Is something wrong? I just have to explain, she said. She was in her 70s and Bill was in his 80s. And Bill had known her husband before he passed. It was a friend of her husband's. And I asked her, I said, what's wrong? What can I do to help? Yeah, I wouldn't want to eat a rooster either. She said, well, it's about Bill and I. And I said, oh no, did you have an argument? No, that's not what I have to tell you. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, let me just shut up and you tell me what you want to tell me. I mean, there's no sense in sitting there asking 50 questions, which are none of my business to begin with. She says, well, Bill's been spending the night. And I said, yeah, I know. It's obvious he's spending the night because the truck's in the drive all night. And this guy would go buy a brand spanking new pickup every year. And I said, so? Well, you have to understand that Bill and my husband were really good friends. I said, yeah, I know. He told me. She said, well, there's nothing going on between us. And I shook my head. I said, what? Well, it's just somebody to fry an egg for in the morning is all. That's all there is. I said, Arlene, I don't give a damn what the two of you do. It's absolutely none of my business or anybody else's damn business. You don't have to explain anything to anyone. But that's what she wanted to tell me. Yep. I used to slaughter chickens when I was 10. I used to skin rabbits when I was 10. I used to skin, well, those are wild rabbits, not my tame rabbits. I used to skin squirrels when I was 10. And you don't cut off their heads. You just cut their throats. And then you throw them down and they run and then bleed out. You've got to bleed them out because if you don't bleed them out, the meat is tainted and you can't eat that. You've got to bleed them out. Same with any animal, whether it be a pig, a chicken, a cow, I don't care what it is. They have to be bled out. And I know Quaker Oats where my brother worked, used to slaughter horses, but they made dog food out of it, supposedly. But at that time, the grocery stores, I think, were buying the meat from Quaker Oats, from horses, slaughtered horses, and selling it as beef. Because it's very easy to tell if you have beef or if you have a horse. that you're going to eat. Because when you go to cut it, the horse meat is stringy and it's tough. Beef is easy to cut, easy to slice, and it's not tough. Yeah. They would also, Quaker Oats would also take downed cattle. If a cow breaks its leg or whatever, you can't sell it as, I don't know why. If a cow breaks its leg, why can't you butcher the rest of it? I don't get it, but you couldn't. So Quaker Oats would take downed cattle, dead cattle, sick cattle, and they would butcher that and supposedly put it in dog food. So, yeah, stupid rules. I get it. I know, really stupid rules. It's crazy. Absolutely flipped out crazy. Yeah, I didn't know Apple was had anything to do with horse meat for, who knows? Maybe you're talking about a different company. Yeah, they use I know they use the hooves for soap. Horses' hooves for soap. I don't know. I don't know what they do with, put it this way, if you were to field dress a horse, what do they do with the innards? I don't know. I don't freaking know. You never saw a garbage truck going down there. Yeah, well, you lay down and I'm going to play the outro in a couple of minutes. I'm about talked out anyway, and my coffee is cold. I need to heat it up. So it's really weird. It's really flipping weird what some companies do. It's nuts. So with that, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I'm 8 minutes over, and it's time for me to go. Yeah, I know you're still there. You want to see the outro. The guy that's being thrown down on the ground is the Salty Rant. Know that. And I have given him the name the Shit Stain, because the reason I call him the Shit Stain is because he used to sit on a toilet, take his boxer shorts down around his ankles, and he had a big brown stain that came up in the back of the shorts. And then he would take a dump in the toilet and show you what was in the toilet water. So I call him the Shit Stain. Everybody have a great evening. If it wasn't for the people that come in and listen, there would be no reason to do this. So, 73, everyone. Hopefully everybody knows what 73 means. It's a amateur radio, ham radio operator term. Everybody have a great evening. Sleep well. Be sure and take particular notice of the picture of me, and Betsy Peeler made that. And the only thing that's me is my head and my hair. That's it. The rest of it is not me. But pay attention to what it says underneath the picture. Because I used to talk like that all the time. Again, 73 guys, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night when I do my stream tomorrow night. So catch you later. Here's the outro. Enjoy.
Viewer discretion is advised.
They just think it's so funny. No!
We are federales, you know, the mountain police.
If you're the police, where are your badges?
Badges? We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.